Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your amazing response. Today we have come with an excellent session. So we are going to discuss about an important point in our life, that is our diet. So are we really eating intelligently? Are we measuring the dietary benefits in everyday life? Are we getting that much of time to think about the diet which we are taking? So definitely, if not, after seeing this episode, you will focus on. So I want to start this interactive session with the Dr. Anayanci. She is our guest. She has done PhD in neuroscience and also she is nutritionist. So really, we have a great person in this field who has done lots of research, and she has developed a new terminology, that is food intelligence. We all know about artificial intelligence and we are running behind it, but I feel that food intelligence is very much required for our long sustenance in a healthy manner. So on this positive note, if you want to know about what is food intelligence is, what are the benefits of it, please go through this entire episode till the end. Do like, share and comment on this video. Now, Dr. Anayanci, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. Can you
Thank you
please
so much for
introduce?
inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure. So my name is Anayanci Masis-Vargas. I'm originally from Costa Rica, but I have been living in Europe for 10 years already. I moved here to do my PhD studies, as you introduced. I did a PhD in neuroscience and metabolism, and the focus of my studies was circadian rhythm and metabolism. My background education is nutrition and dietetics, and I did also a master in physiology.
So, Dr. Anayanci, I just wanted to know, I was curious to know, you were there in neuroscience. So, what made you to come to this amazing field, this nutrition field?
Well, like I said, I did my undergrad in nutrition and dietetics, and when I did my master in physiology, in physiology you go through how the body works, and I became fascinated by the brain. It's the most amazing organ. So I decided that if I would continue my studies and do a PhD, I wanted to put both things together. My bachelor in nutrition and dietetics with my passion for the brain that I discovered during my master degree in physiology. And that's what I did. So I did the PhD studying how light affects the regulation of our metabolism and our appetite according to our circadian rhythms. And that's how I managed to put together both things, like the nutrition part with the brain. And with all this, I realized that there were a lot of gaps, that the approach that we're currently having is not enough. And people kind of know what is healthy, but they don't stick to it for whatever reason. And that's how I came with this concept of food intelligence.
That's very good to know, Dr. Anayanci. Now, you were talking about metabolism. Can you please let us know what exactly is metabolism and how it is different from each one, each of every of us?
Okay, so metabolism is a really broad word, so we can even speak about metabolism in a really specific sense, like the metabolism in every cell that is part of our body, or in a more broader way, like I'm trying to do it right now in our physiology. So it's all the how our body functions and uses the energy that we ingest through our food, and how that energy is processed correctly, whether it's like the energy that we eat, the calories that come from our food is spent or is stored in way of fat, in the way of fat, usually around the waist or the legs or so on, and how, all those functions, energetic functions work, all those processes, because there are millions of processes in our body, or different reactions that will define how our body will process that energy. That's what I meant by metabolism.
So is metabolism going to degrade, like if I age, in the sense if I reach to 50s or 60s, is it going to degrade? How to preserve it?
Okay, so like I said before, it involves energy. So we all have what is called a basic or base metabolic rate. That is like the minimum amount of energy that we need for our body to function, for our organs to function, for us to be able to breathe, or our heart to, to beat. Also for the basic needs of, let's say, just being in bed, being alive. That energy will increase according to your physical activity, of course. So if you're a person that is only behind the desk 8 hours a day, that is a little bit higher than just being in bed. But then if you add exercise, or if you have a job that requires a lot of physical effort, of course, that demand will increase. And that will increase your caloric needs. Now, there is this idea, or there's popular myth that decrease with age. It's not exactly that it's age dependent, but there is something that is very important for us to have like a more accelerated metabolism, or to spend more calories, and it's the amount of muscle that we have in our body, because the muscle is the tissue that requires more energy to function. So if we have more muscle, then you're gonna burn or need more calories from your food, right? So what happened is that what decreases with age is the amount of muscular mass that we have. So after 30, starts to decrease between 3 to 8% per decade. And it's even more when you reach your 60s. So that is a normal process that it occurs with aging, that is called sarcopenia. So that's why it is, widely known that as you age, your metabolism goes slower. But it's not exactly that goes slower, is that you lose muscle, and that's why the metabolism goes slower. If you eat healthy, if you exercise, and especially if you lift weights, ideally, since you are an adult early in your early adulthood, but even especially after 30, that is when we see this decrease in muscle mass, you can preserve that, and your metabolic rate will not go down as much as if you didn't exercise at all.
That's good to know, Dr. Anayanci. So I wanted to know about food intelligence. You coined the term food intelligence. What exactly is food intelligence? How it is useful to us?
So, like I said, I always thought that it didn't matter exactly the knowledge. I was always in a room full of scientists with PhDs, professors, and everybody. Like everybody knew what type of food is nutritious, what type of food does good to you. But you still will see people eating, chocolates instead of a proper lunch, or snacking and cookies after lunch because they will have this energy crash at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So I thought, like, wait, but it's not a matter of IQ or knowledge, because these people know what is good for them. And I also went through this with my patients and my clients. Some of them can tell me even better than myself the calories and the nutritional quality of probably every possible food. So I thought, like, there has to be something else. So I started to read a lot about psychology and, the IQ. And then I stumbled upon an article that said, like, okay, so you have the IQ, but now we know also about the EQ, so the emotional intelligence, how we handle our emotions and what's happening to us is really important. Then you have the social Q, or the social coefficient, that is how you can relate with other people, interact, work together in groups. That is super important, in a team. And then you have the adaptive part. This article promoted this as like a new emergent intelligence on how you can adapt in a world that is like 24/7 functioning, that is globalized, that we travel a lot. We need to learn to adapt to different cultures, different food patterns, different situations. So then this article was speaking about how these four intelligence are key for a person, and in psychology mainly. And then I thought, like, what if I actually applied this to my patients, to my clients. I use exactly the first, the all four intelligences, and I start to, to develop their knowledge in all of them, their proficiency in all of them, not only in terms of knowing what is good for us, because, plenty of people know that it's good to eat fruits and vegetables, that it's better to stick to whole foods, not processed foods. Like, this is kind of widely known, but nobody stick to it. And the reason then I started to think even about myself is like, okay, why today I'm binge eating some cookies in my kitchen and it's 11 p.m. And then I thought like, okay, I'm stressed because I have a deadline and I really, really need to, to make this work. And by tomorrow I have to have this ready. So I'm not channeling my stress in a proper way. And the way that I'm coping with my stress is eating cookies. Right. So I started also to pay attention to my behavior because I was thinking, how come I have all the knowledge and I cannot stick to a healthy meal plan all the time? And then I realized, like, of course, like I'm handling my emotions with food. Then, it comes this when you are like stick to your plan and everything is perfect. And then you're invited to a party or a social gathering. And everybody brings this amazing food or, they order something. And it's not anything that you actually had planned to have because it's not like the healthy options that you were preparing for yourself at home. So then you need to adapt to these situations. Then you have a work trip or holidays. And then you you will go to a specific place where you want to try different food, or, it's a work trip and you have like a really tight work schedule. And on top of that is an unknown city and you need to see how to adapt. So these three other aspects, not only the nutritional knowledge, are key for a person to be able to stick to their health goals and nutritional goals. So that's how I came up with this 4-pillar framework that I created. Started to think about that like maybe a couple of years ago, but I made it, like more, let's say, public last year when I created my own consultant company and started to speak about, the 4 intelligences of nutrition.
Yeah, that's really awesome to know. So, Dr. Anayanci, most diets focus only on nutritional IQ, what to eat, but what often we ignore is the emotional and social factors. So, as per your experience, how has understanding emotional EQ or social SQ changed the people's relationship with food?
So the thing is, like I mentioned before, and this is something that is also cultural related. For example, I come from Latin America, and I believe that in India is a bit similar. In the social part, especially the family part, it's almost an insult if you go to your grandmother or your aunt or something, they prepare something delicious and you don't eat, right? That's actually really difficult. I don't know if you will dare to say to your grandmother or something like, I will not eat that because I'm in a diet, because probably they will just, I don't know, send the pan to your head or something like that. So that's the thing. You need to learn to adjust to this. And the same in the emotional part. Again, it's really cultural related. Sometimes we tend to bottle up our emotions or just swallow everything in a way to, like try to be strong, try to move on, try to cope with the stress, with sadness, even with happiness, like you have something to celebrate. Oh, let's get some cake, or, let's, or maybe people like, oh, let's have some cocktails. Like, so it's, you add the alcohol plus all the calories that they put in the cocktails with all the sugar and so on. So once that you know that food is something that you should use to nourish yourself, to be healthy, to thrive, to ideally to live longer life, you stop using food as a coping mechanism to handle your emotions, or also as the center of your social life. It's important, still is important, it's completely normal, but it's the way that you handle it, So what I do is that with my clients, I work a lot. It's not only that, like you mentioned before, the nutritional IQ and all the knowledge, which is really important, of course, but also how to address emotions. So a lot of inner work is what I suggest. So a lot of journaling, a lot of mindfulness exercises on trying to really think how hungry you are before you even start eating, or even if you're hungry, because then we have this paradigm in our head that everybody says like, oh, you should have 5 meals a day, big meals, and then the snacks and all this. And sometimes we just eat out of habit, but not because we would really need it or we are hungry at that time. So I teach also my clients how to identify this, whether they are alone or in social situations, so the food doesn't become, like the center of the social interactions, neither the way that they handle the way that they feel.
So, Dr. Anayanci, I have one important question. You know that diabetes is the most common problem that everyone is facing in this world. So, is your four intelligence framework mainly addressing that part of the problem which everyone is facing almost? So, if we adapt your four intelligence framework, is it going to help us in preventing diabetes?
So I have two approaches. So I have one that I use for people that want to improve the relationship with food mainly, and like control all the emotional, social, and adaptive part. And the nutritional IQ, how the way that I work it is that I give general advice, like advice on how to general guidelines and so on. When people tell me that, for example, oh, I'm afraid because I'm overweight, my blood sugar is normal, but I have diabetes running in my family, which is the case for a lot of people, then I call it that we work only not only the nutritional IQ, but a metabolic IQ. So I try to teach them more on how the metabolic part works, what is insulin resistance, how it starts, what is what is running in your family, what is happening, why is, so people in your family have type 2 diabetes, how you can try to prevent these kind of things, and how to work your metabolism, work in favor of you and not against you. And of course there are a lot of recommendations that are fully personalized. I take advantage of everything that I learned during my PhD also to analyze what is called the chronotype of the person. Like some people are morning larks, other people are night owls. So I try to adjust and suggest the timing of the food according to their chronotype as well, suggesting also proper light, like light sunlight in the morning, also reduce blue light at night, like to use as little as possible screens 2 hours before going to bed. If you must, then to use filters or ideally blue light blocking glasses, to sleep in a complete dark bedroom. All these things and different changes, in the lifestyle can really improve the metabolism and try to, prevent diabetes. There are diet interventions that can even reverse when there is like the early stage of type 2 diabetes, for example. And that's possible. And of course, we need to address first, yeah, genetics is an important part, but you need to think like, okay, so I'm developing type 2 diabetes because I'm overweight or obese. Why then I have been eating till this point? Why I ate until the point that I'm like this and I'm developing this disease. And then is when we start working again in the emotional part, the social part, and the adaptive part. Ideally, we all should address this before we even get sick. We all need to try to eat better. So ideally, we will not wait until that point. But yes, of course, we need to think, and independently of the reason or that you are looking for nutritional counseling or coaching, you should think at why your behavior had reached that point where you are not in touch with the normal signals that your brain is sending of I'm not hungry or I'm full, and you are just eating out of habit, boredom, or just to handle some emotions that you don't know how to express otherwise.
Yeah. So we are discussing about diabetes. There is a general thought among all the people that if we eat sugar, we will get diabetes. Is it myth or is it a fact?
It is a myth because it's not sugar itself what causes diabetes, is the excess of weight. Now, here's the thing. This is something that, like this idea of what comes first. Is the chicken of the egg? Like, is the chicken first or is the egg first? So the thing is that it can be that somebody doesn't eat sugar at all, but they eat a lot of other stuff, and they start with the extra calories, which means that the calories that they eat are more than the calories that they spend. And of course, if you eat more than what you spend, you're going to accumulate that in way of fat. You're going to increase your weight. And if that continues and it's a chronic situation, then you will become overweight or obese. And overweight and obesity is what would lead to diabetes. So it's not like, oh, then I don't eat sugar, but I can eat everything else and I will not get diabetic. It's not like that, So the thing is that with simple carbohydrates like sugar, then you eat that and that increases your blood sugar immediately almost. And what happens is then your pancreas, that is the organ that releases the hormone insulin, start to release a lot of insulin. And then you have these high peaks of insulin after every meal high in sugar. And if you do this in a chronic way, the receptors in your cells that are supposed to receive the insulin. So the insulin is like, imagine that it's like a key. So the insulin is like a key that opens the door in the cells. So the glucose enter the cells and can use that as energy. So the glucose meaning, the sugars that we consume or what comes from what we consume. So if you have those high peaks or those high amounts of insulin in your body almost all the time, your body will become what is called insulin resistant. So it means like you will need more and more insulin, so extra keys to open your cells for the glucose to enter. And that in the long term will lead to type 2 diabetes. But so again, just to recap, this comes from, when you eat food that is really high in refined carbohydrates like sugar. And this in a chronic way, if it happens all the time, it can lead to that. But you can also, get diabetes from other food if you eat in excess, because at the end, also the extra accumulation of fat in your body will lead to this kind of insulin resistance that lead to type 2 diabetes. There are, of course, the mechanism, I'm overly simplifying this. It's a lot more complex than that. But just to reply to your question in a more precise way, there are different factors that influence this, but not only sugar will cause that. Food in excess in general will lead you to gain weight. And if that accumulates a lot, and especially if you have, a genetic predisposition, that can lead to type 2 diabetes.
Yes. So, Dr. Anayanci, here I have one question. You are a neuroscientist and you are a nutritionist. So, we see that children are very sharp. Even adults, middle-aged people are also sharp in their thinking. Slowly, we see that after one certain age, the thinking level, the way the people react, it slowly degrades. So can we prevent this? We see that Alzheimer's disease is there. We see that people, they forget the things. So with our proper diet, can we prevent this kind of problem?
Of course. Yeah, so it's not only diet is a really important factor, but diet is also exercise, and it's also the activity that you have mentally, because this, for example, is really really common to observe really marked cognitive decline, or what you meant that people tend to be less sharp with age, and especially that comes after people get retired. You can see it, somebody like was working, then they become 65, 67. Well, depends on the age of retirement in the country where they live. And then they retire, and in the next 5 years, you see how that person changed completely, and they are not as sharp as they used to be. But that is also related on how much intellectually stimulating activities they have. So it can be like, you don't need to be working until you're 100, if you want to be sharp, but it's about the type of activities that you do, do different type of exercises, like something that is energy and stimulating, intellectually, read, to do like puzzles like Sudoku or this kind of things that you need to calculate and, be always like on the top of your game mentally. Of course, do exercise, because the exercise would actually stimulate, the neurogenesis in certain part of your brain, or also the genesis of the production of new mitochondria. That is actually what drives, the energetic machine of the cells, and of course the nutrition. And now that you mentioned Alzheimer's, a lot of scientists actually call, in an unofficial way, Alzheimer's like the type 3 diabetes, because it's also proven that in Alzheimer's there is like a mismatch on how your brain is using the glucose. So it means that your brain is not using the glucose, or the main source of energy, as efficient as it could be, or as it was before. So some scientists actually call it a type 3 diabetes, because of how the brain is not able to use the sugars anymore. So of course, it is preventable through changes in lifestyle.